So the first thing we're going to do is to find some images of people who on Google that you think kind of look like your character in your head, or at least the closest you can get to it. I know you're not going to be able to find an exact match, but just something to help you visualize what your character looks like in your head. So I'm going to use my characters from the book I'm writing right now as an example. So they're going to be Amish characters, which actually it's pretty hard to find good images of Amish people online. So I'm going to just look up young Amish man. We will see what we find. So I'm actually having a tough time finding an image for this for my cover that's not copyrighted, but also a side note, these are copyrighted most likely, so you can use them for personal use, like, to make this document we're going to make. Just don't use them for your covers or anything like that you're going to sell unless you buy the licensing to it or it's not copyrighted. So let's just see what we find here. This would work. So my character, his name's Elijah. He's an Amish man in his mid-20s. So this would definitely work. Let's see if I can just copy the image. I'm not great with this kind of stuff, but let's see if this works. Oh, nice. Okay. So that's huge. I'll just make it a little bit smaller. This is what I would say you could do. Put the name. You could put the age. Age, hair color, eye color, and then just put a few words like what describes their personality. I don't know, I'm just making this up. Okay, so this way it kind of separates the characters in your head, and just in case, especially if you have a lot of side characters who are in the background, you might not always remember if they're funny or shy, or it's even your side characters should have a little bit of characterization at least. So that would be for the first one. You could definitely go into more detail, but this is just good enough to show you an example. So now I'm going to look up the other main character. Actually, for most of the book, she is not Amish, so I'm just going to look up like a face. This would work, actually. She doesn't become Amish till the end. Spoiler alert. All right, so can I copy this? Okay, so I'm going to use her face. Okay. So this, as you can see, is copyrighted, so it's fine to use, just like in this document, but don't publish it or anything. Okay, so her name. What is her last name? I'm forgetting. This is why I make this document. I forget their names sometimes. All right, so Charlotte Cooper, age, I don't know, 21, I think she is. And for women, you could say like if their hair is short or long, or because you might end up using that in your descriptions. So, and then you could just say what her personality is. Okay, so there's another example. And I'll do, I think that's good. I mean, I think you probably get the gist of that. So you can just do this for every single character in your book, and probably go into more detail, but at least this way, just in case you want to say something like, his green eyes lit up when he smiled, or something like that, and you think to yourself, wait, does he have green eyes? I don't remember. So you can just go in this document and look and check and see what his eye color is, or his hair color, just for any descriptions like that, because the more details you can put like that into your book, the better, and people will notice. Also, you might want to put on the top what season your story takes place in, because even that sometimes I forget if I'm working on multiple books at once and I want to say something about the weather I might have to scroll through the book and try to like remember like what is this season, winter or summer or fall. I don't know. I just sometimes get them mixed up. So you know how it is if you're working on several stories at once. So you could just put like the setting, the even the month of the year if you know what that is. If it's that specific, or at least just the season. Things like that will really help let you add details to your writing without contradicting yourself, because I'm pretty sure I've done that where I might have said the air was warm in one part and then it was snowing later on. Like, who knows? Sometimes I do that. So, this way you can just keep track of it. The next thing is, I'll just use the same document. Show, don't tell. Even now I know the difference, it's just I still struggle with it. So I'll just show you a few examples, and this is just the best of my knowledge. Again, I'm no expert on this, but one way that helps me remember or helps me know that I'm showing or not telling is when you're describing someone's emotions, try not to use the actual emotion word. Try not to use sad or happy or angry or confused, or try not to actually use that word. Try to describe how they feel instead. So instead of say fear, don't say she was afraid, don't say she was nervous, don't say she was scared. Say, and I won't type it out, I was going to, but that would take forever. So you could say, instead of she was nervous, say how her foot is tapping really quickly, or you could say how her palms got sweaty, and you could say how her heart rate sped up. I mean, these are kind of silly examples, but you know, in your own words, you can change it. This is just off the top of my head. You know, if she's happy, you could say someone's eyes lit up, or they smiled, or you know, these are like really terrible examples, but I think for the biggest one that I have trouble with is the one where they're afraid or nervous, because I've read a lot of suspense. So there's only so many different ways you can say her heart raced, or you know, her palms got sweaty. Like, you have to really think about different ways. But instead of, it's much better, even if you use something like that that's not that good, it's a lot better than saying she was scared, which I hope you're not writing. But you know, it's at least you get the idea. So for the next part, let's do Workflowy. I'm going to, where was it? Here it is. Okay, so for your outline, this actually works really great because they have all these headings, I guess you could call them, and then they break down into smaller sections. So you could put a chapter at each of these, like chapter 1, chapter 2, I'll just do 3. And then you click that and it expands. So you can say, you know, the first thing happens, and then the next thing happens, and so on and so forth. And then when you go back, now how do you collapse this? Nope. Haven't used this in a little bit. Okay. And then when you go back, you see just the chapter headings. And then is there a way to show? Yep, like this. So it's kind of nice because you can see an overview of what your entire book is about. You can see just the chapters, which would be, if you want to put like right here, the main idea of the chapter or the main event of that chapter, just so at a glance you can see the course of the book and how it flows. And then if you want to go into even more detail, you can click these smaller sections. And then I was wondering if it broke down again, but does it? Maybe it does. Pause it. I'm going to check. Okay. Okay, it does. Wow, that gets really detailed. So you can do chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and then say, okay, so like in my book, chapter 1, she meets this little boy at an Amish farm, and they have a connection, and she gives him a lollipop. That's basically what happens. During that chapter, you can say how they drove there, when they first met, the conversation they had, and then down here you could even say descriptions, like if you have ideas for descriptions you want to use, like going back to your other document we just made about the different characters with the eye colors and the hair colors, any little details that you want to like remember to include, you can put in there. And then I'm sure you can use this so many different ways, but that's just one example. So this is workflowy.com, and it is free as far as I know. I've had it for a few years, and I've only used it a few times, but I think for a beginner, or if you're just a really visual person, this is really great to use for your outline because it really breaks it down. And then, of course, you can just use Evernote if you'd rather and just write literally an entire document instead. That's how I do it. I don't know. I've done it both ways. So those are my tips. And for your writing, just a few more things. I'm losing my voice. Sorry if I'm kind of like got a scratchy voice. But for your writing, if you ever feel stuck, it's definitely going to happen. It's really normal to get writer's block. It's normal to feel like, why am I even doing this if you're not making any money? I will say it took me about 3 years to start making a really substantial income from it. I've been making money the whole time, just not enough to live off of. But it definitely pays the bills now. It's actually, I'm making more than my husband makes at his 40-hour week job. So, but it took 3 years to get here. And a lot of people just see the success. So most writers end up quitting before they get there, especially if you're self-publishing. I mean, same for traditional publishing. I know people who it took years for them to get an agent, and then it took years for them to get published. So, and then they did get published. So either way, whatever route you're choosing, don't give up before you reach your success, because if you're determined, it'll eventually happen, most likely. So, okay, so those are my tips. My name's Ashley Emma again, and my website is ashleyemmaauthor.com, and that's ASHLEYEMMAAUTHOR.com. And my email is amishbookwriter@gmail.com. If you have any questions, just email me. If I maybe missed something or you want more explanation on something, just email me. But other than that, good luck and keep on writing, and don't give up before you reach success. All right, thanks.